Alright, so what we're going to be doing today is installing a Windows 7 operating system inside VirtualBox as a virtual machine. So the first step we want to take is select New, and we'll name this one Windows 7. And 32-bit version is correct for me, so I'll click Next. The RAM is fine at 512 megabytes, so I'll select Next. And the hard disk size is correct, so we will create that disk now. And this setting is fine, the VirtualBox disk image. And dynamically allocated, we will leave that as it is. And we will go ahead and create this. Okay, first thing we need to do is go into the settings. And we'll look at network. Now we need to change this network adapter to internal network, so that it can communicate with the rest of our virtual machines and pfSense router. The second thing we need to look at is storage, and here we need to attach a file. Now, normally I would attach an ISO file, but in this case I've got it onto a disk in my E drive, so I will choose that as the image that I'm going to be installing from. So I will click OK, and the first thing we'll do now is go ahead and start it up. Alright, the first decision that we need to make is which language to install this in. We're going to choose English, and the keyboard method's already here as US, the time and currency format, standard English, that's fine. We'll click Next to continue, and we'll go ahead and install now. Okay, now we are being prompted to accept the license terms, which we will do, and we will hit Next. And what we're going to do is go ahead and use a custom install, because we're not upgrading from any other version of Windows. This is a fresh install. And here's our disk that we have allocated for this install, and we will go ahead, and that's fine. We'll hit Next. Now Windows is going to start installing itself. We're going to be copying files and updating features. The installation process is going to take a while, so anytime we have to make a decision, or anytime I'm going to be doing anything other than letting Windows install itself, we will be able to show that. Otherwise, we'll have this edited for content, because it will take a little while for these files to load. Okay, so now at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause Windows 7, and I will take and look at my devices, my optical drives, and I can go ahead and remove the disk from the virtual drive, so that when the computer restarts, it will be booting from the virtual hard disk and not the image on the disk that I have in the drive right now, which is equivalent to the ISO image. And now it'll actually be booting back up from the hard disk and not the image file. Alright, so now Windows is setting up the virtual machine for its first use. And we can go ahead and name this computer. I'll just use my name for the account. And we'll select Next. And we can just go ahead and skip this right now. We can put a password in if we want to, but we don't have to. And this is the time where I'm going to go ahead and put in the product key. Okay, so the product key is entered, and I can go ahead and select Next. Now at this point we're being asked about how we want to configure the updates. For right now I'm just going to leave this as Ask Me Later. And I'll set the time zone to where I am, which is Eastern Time, US and Canada. That's correct. I'll go ahead and select Next. I will leave this as home network, because everything on here is linked to what I have in my virtual machine. And now we're applying all the settings, and we're getting ready for the first use. And now while the setup is being finalized, what I will do is go ahead and power on pfSense, which is our router. And so we can have that running in the background, and we will be able to connect to that when it's up and running. Okay, now pfSense is up and running and all my numbers in here are good, like I've configured them. Now, right now you can see we have no internet access, so what we need to do is open the Network and Sharing Center. And what we need to do is look at the adapter settings. This is our local area network. We will check out the properties. Alright, so now that we're here in the properties, we need to look at Internet Protocol version 4. And we will check those properties out. Here is where we will statically configure what we want to use for our IP address, our default gateway, and our DNS server. So for this, I'm going to configure it to be in my network. So it needs to be 172.16.0.30. I can tab down the subnet mask. I'll go ahead and keep all these at 255.255.255.0. And for my default gateway, I need to point that back to my pfSense router, which is 172.16.0.1. Now, what I'm going to do for the DNS server is go ahead and configure that to be 8.8.8.8. And what we're going to do is go ahead and accept these changes and close it out. Okay, so now we have network access, we have internet access, and just to show this, we'll go ahead and open up a Windows Explorer browser. So now we have a Windows Internet Explorer browser open. We'll go google.com. Alright, so as you can see, we have access to the internet. We're looking at Google right here, and we have that access through our internal network, which we have set up through pfSense being the router. And to check these numbers one more time, we'll go back into the network settings. These network connections right here. And back at Internet Protocol version 4, we'll look at those properties and see what we've done. Statically, we've configured all these parameters to suit our needs, and it looks like everything is working very well, and this is what we need to accomplish during this demonstration.